Welcome to another episode of CrafterCast, where we focus on specific topics related to modern content management for digital experience applications. Today, we're talking about front-end as a service, which is an emerging technology area. My name is Mike Vertal, and with me today here is Russ Danner. So Russ, regarding this front-end as a service, it's emerged, I think, as a need to address the development of digital experiences and digital applications on top of headless platforms, whether those are headless CMS platforms or headless commerce systems. So is this for real? Is this hype or is it happening?
I think it's a little bit of both. So there are some companies that are really focusing on this, and there's definitely a growing understanding that service orientation and being able to purchase software and compose software out of services is a great way to be an agile enterprise, but that at the end of the day, front end is where the rubber meets the road with the user. So the main question is it going to be in-house development or is there going to be another option? And this is an emerging answer to that question.
Yeah, and it's really kind of a larger trend of low code and no code solutions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about what front-end as a service, or FEaaS, as its acronym is. Well, let's dig a little bit deeper. What is it in more detail?
Well, it's a couple different things, I think. The first is a set of tools that allow you to design, build, and compose experiences or applications. There's also the need to be able to deploy those applications to infrastructures. And then the last bit is the actual delivery of that. So sometimes you're deploying to your infrastructure, but you may also be deploying to some infrastructure that somebody else is running. And I think that front end as a service is all of those things.
Yep. And then what about the integration to the backend systems, whether it's a headless content platform, commerce system, or other?
Well, that's where it gets kind of interesting. The first point here is that you're going to be using somebody else's front-end framework. So the front-end framework, whether that's React, Angular, Vue, framework XYZ, it's going to be chosen for you. And it's going to dictate to some degree what that integration on the back end looks like. There's always some amount of cohesion there, right? Especially around the types of APIs that are going to be called, how they're going to be called, and so on. And then the last thing here is that there are no standards around most backends, right? There's proprietary APIs, and so the integrations between front ends and back ends are essentially custom. So when you leverage a front end as a service, you're getting whatever integration is made available, and it's going to be pretty vendor specific and pretty specific to that integration.
Yeah. So does that mean that there is going to be a set of vendor specific issues or vendor lock-in that goes along with the territory?
Yeah, I think it goes with the territory. That's just the nature of the beast. You know, from a front end perspective, from a composability perspective, in order to enable those tools, there's going to be a bit of front end lock-in, and then there's that integration in that code and the platforms that they plan to deploy to, and so on. It's inevitable that front end as a service is going to have some amount of vendor lock-in. Right.
So now let's talk about CrafterCMS in relation to front end as a service. CrafterCMS is a decoupled architecture with the content authoring platform separate from content delivery, both of which are headless platforms. And on top of our authoring platform is our own front end as a service application, what we call Crafter Studio, which is the authoring experience that can be extended and can be used to compose applications. Talk about how Crafter supports other front-end as a service applications if and when it makes sense, and how Crafter Studio serves that need for many of our clients.
So I think you hit on some of the topics already. Let me see if I can just elaborate on that, basically. So one, Crafter Studio is a place where you can compose experiences. I mean, that's the point of Crafter Studio. So it's going to let you take those plugins and build experiences out of them in a composable way. Then you could think about, as another layer, you could sort of think about the idea that there are already pre-built integrations out there, maybe even somebody else's front end as a service code that you could then import into Studio and yet build bigger sort of experiences out of that. So there's no sort of limit to the turtles on turtles kind of stacking you can do there. I think beyond that, beyond sort of Studio being a place to build experiences, we also have Crafter Cloud, which satisfies another area of front end as a service, which is the whole sort of deployment and delivery component. With Crafter, you can deploy your experiences to different channels. By default, that would be our delivery tier, but because we're pluggable, that could also be other experiences where you're pushing content, pushing experience to. I mean, we can deploy anywhere. And then Crafter Cloud is a delivery framework. So it satisfies all areas of kind of that definition that we gave of front end as a service from where from where I stand. And I think there's some other benefits to being an open source project as well in terms of vendor lock-in.
Right. Yeah, because our components in our platform are open source. So yeah, I think it's an interesting area that's emerging. It'll be interesting to watch the vendors in this area evolve. Already we're seeing some acquisitions, Commerce Tools buying Frontastic as one example. So as these headless platforms expand, they see the need for their own offering. It'll be interesting to see if any of these vendors stay independent, supporting a variety of headless platforms on top of which they operate. We have Crafter Studio, which serves that need for the vast majority of our customers. But as a platform, we support anything, right? So other front end as a service vendors and technologies can plug in to our authoring platform for if and when it makes sense to extend what comes out of the box with Crafter. So let's put a wrap on this episode. Thanks everybody for watching. If you found this useful, hit the like button and share it with your friends and colleagues. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any future episodes. And feel free to comment below on any topics you'd love to hear us talk about, or hit us up over at CrafterCMS.com. Thanks for watching and have a great day.